In the heart of San Jose, California, lies a mansion unlike any other, the Winchester Mystery House. Built by Sarah Winchester, the widow of the inventor of the famous rifle, the house is a labyrinth of rooms, hallways, and stairs leading to nowhere. It is said that Sarah built this sprawling mansion to appease the spirits of those killed by her husband's invention. Every night, she would order workers to construct and demolish parts of the house, making it impossible to ever finish. Ben had heard the rumors of strange happenings in the house but didn't believe in ghost stories. A skeptic at heart, he joined a late-night tour of the mansion, hoping to see what all the fuss was about. As the group entered, the tour guide explained the history of Sarah Winchester and how she believed the restless spirits of the rifle's victims haunted her every step. But Ben thought it was just superstition, stories passed down through the years. At first, everything seemed normal. The group wandered through the many rooms, each one stranger than the last, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, as midnight struck, the temperature in the house began to drop. Ben felt a chill run down his spine, and an eerie silence overtook the group. Suddenly, the group heard the sound of footsteps echoing in the hallways, even though they were the only ones in the house. The sound grew louder, and the air seemed to thicken. Ben turned to look, but no one was there. His heart began to race. As they walked deeper into the house, Ben's unease grew. The walls seemed to close in around him, and every corner he turned felt unfamiliar. It wasn't long before he realized the layout of the house was completely disorienting. In one room, he found a strange object, a rifle on display. The whispering voices began. "Get out, or stay forever." Ben turned to leave, but the door slammed shut behind him. He was trapped. The group tried to make their way out, but the house seemed to shift and change, as if mocking them. Finally, after what seemed like hours, they managed to find the exit. But Ben was not the same. The next day, he went to the local library to research the history of the house. What he found confirmed his worst fears. The spirits of those who died by the Winchester rifle were indeed believed to haunt the house. Ben had felt their presence. And he knew now that the house was not just haunted, it was alive with the souls of the dead. The moral of the story? The past has a way of catching up with us, and sometimes, the things we build to protect ourselves can be the very things that trap us. The Queen Mary, a retired British ocean liner turned hotel and museum in Long Beach, California, is one of the most haunted places in America. In its early days, the ship was a luxury vessel, but during World War II, it became a troop carrier, leading to many tragic events. In 1942, the Queen Mary collided with another ship, killing hundreds of people. Since then, the spirits of the dead have never left. Jessica and her friends arrived at the Queen Mary one foggy night, eager for a haunted adventure. They boarded the ship with excitement, eager to explore the dark, isolated parts of the vessel. It was a sprawling ship, filled with old rooms and corridors, some so narrow that they barely fit one person. But it was in the deepest parts of the ship that the real terror awaited. As they ventured further into the ship, the air grew thick, and a strange coldness settled over them. In one of the lower decks, Jessica thought she saw a shadow move across the wall. She brushed it off as her imagination. But as they turned a corner, the shadow was there again. Only this time, it wasn't a trick of the light. The group moved deeper into the ship, following the dimly lit path. Then, they heard it, heavy, dragging footsteps echoing from the darkness ahead. Jessica felt her pulse quicken as the others grew uneasy. The sound stopped suddenly. At that moment, Jessica was pulled back by an icy hand, and when she turned around, no one was there. She screamed, but her friends didn't hear her. As they continued on, they encountered the figure of a sailor, faint and ghostly, his face contorted in pain. It was the ghost of a soldier, one of the many who had perished in the collision. Terrified, Jessica and her friends turned to leave, but the ship seemed to have changed. Hallways twisted, doors appeared and disappeared, and they found themselves lost. The ghostly sailor followed them, dragging himself across the floor, beckoning them deeper into the ship. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they made it back to the upper decks. But the spirits had not left them. The moral of the story? Some places carry a history so tragic that the souls of the lost cannot find rest. And when you visit, you may leave with more than you bargained for. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri, is a place steeped in dark history. Once home to the Lemp family, owners of a successful beer company, the mansion became infamous after a series of suicides and tragic deaths. The spirits of the Lemp family are said to still haunt the mansion, forever tied to their painful past. Chad was a young man looking for a thrill. He had heard the rumors about the mansion and its dark history, the mysterious deaths of the Lemp family, the rumors of a ghostly presence in the house, and the strange noises that echoed through the mansion's halls at night. Despite his fear, he couldn't resist the urge to spend the night. He arrived on Halloween night, when the mansion was eerily quiet. After a brief tour, he was left to explore the house on his own. As he wandered through the rooms, he felt a sense of unease, like he wasn't alone. The mansion's walls seemed to whisper, filled with the sadness of the family that once lived there. Then, Chad heard the sound of footsteps. At first, he thought it was a staff member, but when he turned the corner, no one was there. The footsteps continued, getting closer and closer. Suddenly, the air grew cold, and Chad could see his breath misting in the air. A door opened on its own. He stepped inside and found himself in a dimly lit room with a piano in the corner. As he walked toward it, the piano keys began to move on their own. The sound of a melody filled the air, but it was a haunting, sorrowful tune, one that Chad didn't recognize. Suddenly, a voice whispered in his ear. It was faint, almost a murmur, but unmistakable, "Leave, or join us." Chad's heart raced as he bolted from the room, only to find the hallway stretched on forever. The mansion was alive with whispers, shadows moving across the walls. When he returned to the main floor, the tour guide told him the history of the Lemp family, the suicides, the madness, and the ghosts that still haunt the mansion. Chad realized that he had encountered the restless spirits of the Lemp family, their tragic end never allowing them to move on. The moral of the story? The dead are not always at peace, and when the past is filled with tragedy, it is not easily forgotten. Some places carry the weight of unresolved pain, and they will remind you of it, whether you want to remember or not. The Winchester Mystery House, the Queen Mary, and the Lemp Mansion each tell their own terrifying tale. They are haunted by the ghosts of the past, forever bound to their tragic histories. These places serve as chilling reminders that some spirits cannot move on, and some stories are too horrific to be forgotten. The moral of these stories is clear. The past never truly disappears. It waits, lingering, until it is remembered, and sometimes, the memories are best left undisturbed.